The school run. The school run.
Now, it's often said as we get older in life, in my case, there's way too many white hairs on my head. But as adults, we do try to hold on, don't we, to the child in us. And that's in different ways, whether it's being more creative, more imaginative. And actually, that's exactly what a book entitled Foxes Don't Paint is trying to do. This whole book has been given out to schools for free here in London, and it's around encouraging young children to be more creative. And I'm joined now in the studio with Hannah March, who's the Chief Growth Officer of Fold7. They've created this book. It's called Foxes Don't Paint, and I'm really chuffed to say Hannah's in the studio. So lovely to have you here, Hannah.
Hi, thank you for having me.
And you know, you were nodding away when I was saying that, but it's the case, isn't it? As we get older, we oftentimes just let go of the fun, the creativity that we have, that it's important to nurture, especially within young children.
That's so true. So I think I read a stat somewhere that said that we're 96% less creative as adults than
96?
children.
You might as well say 100% then. That's a lot.
I know. So children are inherently creative, and coming from a creative industry, obviously it's really important that we're encouraging that creativity as they grow. Fold7 are an advertising and communications agency that have a 28-year heritage using creativity to help clients solve business problems. So our people and our output are inherently creative, and we have a vested interest in ensuring that we have good talent for many years to come coming through the pipeline.
It's quite something, isn't it? Because I think, if I was to use the example of my daughter, she's 6 years old. She told me the other day for Mother's Day to make a video. You know, she'd made this really beautiful card for me. And she straight away looked at the camera and was like, "Hi, guys." And I was like, "Who are you talking to, Tyra? It's only me. It's Mummy." And then I realised that she's so, accustomed to seeing things on CBBS or YouTube, on YouTube Kids, I should say. And her creativity is perhaps very different to the way that I was creative as a young child. And it's important, isn't it, that we still, even though children have technology, social media, they have tablets, they have films, that we encourage that creativity through books.
Absolutely. And there's lots of factors at the moment that are impacting children's creativity. So one of which being the systematic defunding of art subjects by the government over the last 10 or so years. That's really meant that there's less teachers of creative subjects. Universities are getting penalised for not having students go into professional roles after they finish university. And so we've got that as a situation, as well as the potential cost of living crisis having an impact on creativity at home. And so really where this book came from was some research that we did. So we wanted to have a holistic look at the problem.
Okay.
And we did a bit of research on whether parents thought that cost of living crisis was having an impact. And actually the results were that they were. And it has a disproportionate effect, as you might expect, on those of average and lower incomes, which obviously means that over time, you're only going to get those from wealthier families who have access to the creative industry. So this is a massive problem for us. And we may go back 20 years in terms of the representation that we see currently in our industry and in the creative industries as a whole.
It's quite an interesting, point that you make, that for a lot of us, we don't, sometimes get the chance to really understand the impact of the different social classes that still exist here in London and the impact that has on our children and their education.
Yeah.
And I myself, coming from a low income working class background, I'm very conscious of that because of the fact that I look at my daughter and I realise, oh my goodness me, she has a very different childhood to the one that I had.
Yes.
I had. And she's definitely not working class, but I'm trying my best to instill the working class values, if you will.
Yeah.
And so that access to books, I've always felt is a fundamental right for all children, no matter what you know, is your background, your ethnicity, even, you know, how much money your mum and dad have in their bank account. So was that a part of the thought process for Fold7 to want to give these books out for free to schools here in London?
Absolutely. And we've been going into schools and doing readings as well, and talking to children about creativity and how they feel, what they think creativity is, and how important it is for them to try and keep hold of that. And some of the answers were
share some with me. What have some of the little ones been saying? What age range, firstly, is it that you've been speaking to, and what are the kind of things that children have been saying here in London?
Well, the book is for ages 3 to about 9.
Right.
So similar to your Julia
Yes.
Donaldson books, I would say. And funnily enough, when you ask children whether you think that their parents like being creative and are creative, the answer is a resounding no. So
it's true.
It just
Most of us got our heads on our phones, haven't we?
Exactly. And also, we know, just going back to your earlier question about books, there is a problem with access to books and access to things that help children be creative and nurture their creativity at home as well as at school. So we know what the problem is at school, but at home, what we uncovered with our research is that the fact that parents have less money means that they're spending less on books, they're spending less on some of those kind of creative things that they might buy for their children, like crafts,
Sure.
supplies, things like that. But also they are feeling like they can't take them to museums and art exhibitions and things because they can't afford the travel. So it's really heartbreaking to see that complete disparity, as I said earlier, between higher incomes who haven't really seen a change with the cost of living crisis and the low incomes who are very much affected. And I think one parent said that she allows her children to sit in front of the TV and screens because she doesn't feel like she has the time or the money to enable them to do other things.
And actually, I guarantee there'll be people tuned in on the school run who'll be nodding away. They'll understand that for a plethora of reasons. You might just be exhausted. We've all done it. I've done it with mine, where I've thought, right, she can watch that movie for an hour and a half. That gives me enough time to get through emails. Genuinely, as a parent, I've done it. But I also appreciate, as you say, that access is vitally important.
Yep.
You know, on the one hand, people might be tuning into Radio London thinking, yes, but you can go to a library, you can get a book, you know. But we also know libraries are closing down here in London. And so it does feel like a bit of a vicious cycle, if you will. But let's delve a bit more, if we can, into Foxes Don't Paint. It's a beautiful book. Red's my favourite colour. So straight away, it's very striking. And this follows the journey of little Fox, doesn't it? And you've used kind of fantastic visuals. It's, I think, enough as I would know with my daughter is it's the visuals as much as what you're reading that has to jump out and pop at them, doesn't it?
Yes. So the idea came from, at Fold7, we have a mascot, and our mascot is a fox. Mm-hmm. So we thought we could bring our Fold7 fox to life in a story that was focused on creativity and encouraging kids to be creative. So the little fox loves to paint, and she's told by grown-up animals that it's not going to help feed the fox family.
Okay.
So why bother with that? And then obviously at the end of the story, she comes to understand the opportunities in life that creativity can afford you and why it is so valuable.
Yeah.
And to understand that actually anyone can be creative and anyone should be creative.
Yeah, I think it's a beautiful message, actually. It's a really beautiful message. And people can go, can't they, to your website. So it's Fold7, but it's the number 7.
Yes.
Fold7.com.
Yes.
For more details.
So if you go on our fold7.com website, then you can find out more about the book, and you can link directly on www.foxesdon'tpaint.com if you would like to buy the book, and the proceeds are going to Create, who are a charity working with society's most disadvantaged and vulnerable parts, to give them free access to the creative arts. So they're doing some amazing things, and we're going to be donating the proceeds that we can to them.
That's fantastic. createarts.org.uk if you want more details about the organisation. And as you say, all proceeds for this particular book will be going to that charity organisation, Create. Go to foxesdon'tpaint.com. That's foxesdon'tpaint.com for more details. Hannah, such a pleasure having you on the show. What are we thinking next? Is this now going to be turned into some kind of like short animation? Have you figured out next steps for Foxes Don't Paint, I wonder?
Funnily enough, we
yes.
were actually discussing doing some sort of some sort of animation, because we love the book so much, and we're really proud of it. And also it's doing something that is desperately needed. So yes, we have been chatting about it, but who knows? We'll see.
Watch this space. Will you come back in? I'd love to find out what happens to little Fox.
Thank you very much.
Thanks again, Hannah. Pleasure having you here on the show. And if you'd like more details, it's foxesdon'tpaint.com, with the proceeds going to the charity Create.